Well, thank you, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here today and be able to share some thoughts with you about how we're trying to enhance our safety culture at CHS. But I'd like to start with a little bit of a story that had an impact on me, and I realize a picture of General Patton in a Jeep may not be the ideal way or might be an interesting way to start a conversation about safety, but there's a story before the story, and that is that for better or worse, most of the things that I learn in life come from either the person sitting next to me on an airplane or a taxi driver. And at least it's not the internet, so I think there's some redeeming features there. But several years ago, I was in Indianapolis, and I was in a cab, and I was talking to the cab driver, and we got to talking about his life story. And one of the things that he told me was that he served in World War II in Italy, the invasion of Sicily, underneath General Patton. And one day he was driving a Jeep down a road, and out of both sides of the ditches on the road came German soldiers, stood in the middle of the road, aimed their rifles at him, and he thought he was about to die. But in reality, all they wanted was his Jeep because the Germans were in full retreat, and they just wanted to get out of there, and that was their best opportunity to do so. So, being a smart soldier, he gave them the Jeep because it was better than giving him his life, and they took off, and he had to walk back to camp. And when he got to camp, he happened to run across the general, and he relayed the story to General Patton of what happened to him, basically when he gave his Jeep to the German soldiers. Now, I'm not going to ask you to shout out what you're thinking right now, but think about how we all envision and imagine General Patton, okay? And imagine a poor private having to explain to him that you gave up an American Jeep to a bunch of German soldiers so they can escape. But what was interesting was what he recanted to me was the general's reaction, which was, we can get another Jeep, we can't get another you, okay? And what a stunningly simple concept about the value of safety. In the world in which we live, in the world of agriculture, material things, tractors, combines, you name it, grain augers, those are all replaceable. But the people who operate those things are not, okay? Now I am going to ask for a little bit of audience participation. Just show of hands in the audience. Everybody who spent time on a farm, please raise your hand, okay? Now here comes the hard one. Anybody who's ever done something that in retrospect was unsafe on that farm, raise your hand. Well, good. At least half of you are not going to get struck by lightning, so that's a pretty good thing. Me included, right? So we all know better, but what is it that, when we get in a hurry, when we get in these environments that, from time to time, we do things that we know are unsafe. And if you think about, who's in this room, who better than us that should know better than that? Now, part of it is the environment in which we operate. I'd like to share some what I would call truths about agriculture and just the environment in which we operate every day that we need to recognize the challenges that come along with it. So first of all, agriculture, get her done. There's nothing that we're going to do that's going to get in our way, that's going to prevent us from doing what we need to do. I was just in a meeting yesterday talking with one of our owners from the country, and he recanted a story or a fact that about 65% of the U.S. corn crop is planted 1 week this year, okay? Pretty amazing fact, but when you take a step back from that, think about everything that went into that. Think about the phone calls. Where's my ammonia cart? I've got to move. Where's the floater? You got to get going. I don't care that it's 10 o'clock at night. I need fertilizer. I got to keep running, okay? That type of pressure, that type of environment, that's not conducive to safety. You got people that are tired, you've got people that are hurrying, you've got people around very, very dangerous things doing those things, right? So it's an inherently dangerous environment, and our can-do attitude that just permeates American agriculture, can really take us to places where we should pause, but inherently we don't. Independent spirit, that's the beauty of farming, right? It's your freedom, your opportunity to succeed or your opportunity to fail, and that's why people do it. Fiercely, fiercely independent lot. Nobody's going to tell me what to do on my farm, okay? I realize that auger came with a cover over the belts. But I'm just going to take it off because, it's a whole lot easier to clean that thing out or replace belts when I don't have that cover that I need to deal with, okay? Gee, what could go wrong with that? But yet we see it all the time. People do that. And so one of Americans' greatest strengths in agriculture is our fierce independence. But it's a classic, any strength to an extreme can become a weakness if we're not careful. Inherent risk. We're not only in the agriculture business at CHS, we operate in the energy space as well. We have about 14 different operating divisions within the company that would kind of span the entire food and energy spectrum. Perhaps other than mining, these are probably the two most inherently dangerous spaces in American agriculture. Our company is governed by 17 producers that are all democratically elected from the country. They represent different regions throughout. And obviously the one thing they all share in common is that they are all farmers. But there's also a subset of our board of directors, about a third of them, that also share something in common. They're missing a finger, okay? It's absolutely true. So think about democratic, demographic, almost random, okay? Almost a third of our board is missing a finger, and typically it happens to be the ring finger, okay? I'm pulling a tarp off of a truck, and I'm getting ready to unload grain, and I jump off. My finger gets caught on the sideboard. I lose a finger, okay? That story is a lot more common than any of us would care to admit to. So again, we just operate in an inherently dangerous space, which means that, just average consideration for safety isn't going to be acceptable and get the job done. We have to be vigilant and diligent every day to ensure that we can send our people home the same way they came, and that was safe. Just this once. This is one of my favorite, And you can do it just once, because 99 out of 100 times, you'll be fine. 999 times out of 1,000, you'll be fine. The problem is, it's not a law of probabilities, it's not a law of cumulative statistics, it's random. And it is that one time that's irreversible. And when I talk to our employees about this, the two questions that I ask them, I said, first of all, is there a reverse on this? Okay, do you say, gee, I shouldn't have reached into the auger. Gee, I shouldn't have jumped off the tractor with the PTO still going to unplug a baler or whatever it is. By the time you realize it, it's over. It is too late. There is no reverse. The other question I ask them is, when it goes bad, does it go bad slowly or does it go bad quickly? And of course, we all know the answer to that. So in the blink of an eye, a life may be gone. Maybe if they're lucky, they're still alive, but a life's been changed forever. And when that life is gone or that life changes, it's not just that one life that's impacted. It's all the family members, it's all the friends, it's everybody that individual knows that's also impacted because of one poor decision made, one thought not had on any given day. So for all of us, we all admit we've done things that in retrospect we know we shouldn't have. What's our truth? How are we going to think about this as we go forward? How are we going to try and model the behaviors on farm that we want? For me, my wife and I still farm. I have 3 children that all work on the farm. The oldest is 21, the youngest is 12, and the middle is 15. For me, it's what message do I want to send? What example do I want to set for my kids? So even though we farm on predominantly flat ground, you put your seatbelt on when you get in the tractor with the cab. It's just what you do. You look around your operating environment before you get in the tractor. You make sure that the equipment is serviced. You make sure that nothing's plugged. It's just the force of habit that we need to get into. In fact, I just read a really interesting book last week, and that was actually the title of it, The Force of Habit. Maybe some of you have read it. But it talks about how habits get formed. And it basically talks about 3 stages. Basically, the first is there's a cue. Okay, something triggers us to do something, and then it's the routine that we do, and then we perceive a reward when we do it. And when we do that long enough, we get in that cycle, sooner or later we do it without even thinking about it, okay? That's where we need to get in safety. We need to get to the point where we don't think about it, we just do it. What's your cue? I'm about to get on a tractor, I'm gonna operate, a powered vehicle, okay? I know that now. What is my routine? I check the equipment, I make sure that it's safe, I make sure that nothing's plugged, I get in the tractor, I put my seatbelt on, I adjust the steering wheel, I adjust the pedals if I need to. Now, and I look around my operating environment, now I'm ready to go. Okay, I just don't jump on and go. Okay, what's the benefit of that? I'm safe, that's the reward. And so just like we don't think about breathing, okay, we need to get to the point where safety is just innate in all we do. And I think the real opportunity for all of us as we think about another generation of agriculture coming in, there's a real opportunity for all of us to set the example for the next generation to be safe. Because, a lot of those that are farming today, average age of the American farmer is still, I think, about 57 years old. They grew up in a world without, PTO shaft covers, without covers on belts. It's just what you did, right? So there's real opportunity for us, I think, to set the right tone as we move forward. So our challenges as a company, we have about 10,000 employees, as I said, 14 different operating divisions, about 500 different locations throughout the world, 25 countries, and as I said previously, inherently risky businesses. Think about a petroleum refinery. There's not too many more hostile operating environments than that. Think about grain elevators, think about augers, think about grain dust. Think about lack of oxygen, hazardous chemicals. I mean, there's just so many different inherent dangers in what we do every day. But the challenge also for us is they're all different, okay? For us, safety in an operating environment in our headquarters, west of here in Inver Grove Heights, is very different than what it is in a petroleum refinery in Kansas, which is very different than what it is in a soy processing plant in Fairmont, Minnesota. So the thought is, how do we create a safe environment given the disparate operating environments with which we have to deal with every day? So, another audience participation question. I am now a safety consultant, and what I'm absolutely going to guarantee you is that I can get a 20% improvement in safety in your operation every year. Guaranteed 20% every year. Who in the room would hire me? Oh, come on. Okay, at least I got one or two, okay? And it is a trick question because we can't think about safety in these environments as an incremental approach. So if you were to look at the statistics from the National Highway Transportation Safety Board, it would say for about every 100 million miles that you drive, you should expect about 1.2 fatalities. And with our fleet within the company, we do drive over 100 million miles per year. So statistically, we should be killing 1.2 people per year just based upon the national average. Okay, and if we, basically strove or impose a 20% continuous improvement process, next year we'd only kill one. Okay, the year after we'd only kill 0.8 of one, and you can kind of see where this is going. So aspirationally, of course, the goal is zero. With working in the hostile environments of agriculture and energy, our goal every day is to cheat the odds. Because statistically, somebody should get hurt and somebody should die. And it's, you don't say, well, gee, that was bad luck. What a bad string. Gee, that's unfortunate. Okay? It's zero tolerance. We have to create the expectation that everybody goes home the way they came to work that day, and that is safe. So, safety culture, there are no shortcuts. We have to set the expectation that if we can't do it safely, we should not do it. And in fact, if somebody told me that you can't operate a business safely, that's a business we should not be in. And I refuse to believe that, by the way. I believe that that's just an excuse for not doing things the way that they should be. But in order to do that, people need to understand that there is a clear set of expectations and policy that goes along with that. You have to measure your performance. People have to be accountable for performance. And you have to have messages and continuous improvement that go along with that. And I'll provide a few examples, perhaps, of each of those. So, again, each of our business units are very, very different. So each one has to put together a safety policy that's very specific and very focused on each of their individual businesses. Those policies must need to be understood by employees. And employees need to understand that they have a key ownership role in implementing safety in the workplace. It's not something the company does for you. It's not something the company does to you. It's something the company enables and supports, but employees have to own, or it won't happen. Measurable. We implemented a safety survey within the company to basically see what the level of engagement of employees was, whether or not they viewed that we were operating safely, gain their thoughts, their insights, identify the risks, the opportunities, so we could begin to think through what the mitigation plans might be. Of our 10,000 employees, almost 5,000, almost half of them responded to the survey. And I don't know how many of you do survey work, but when you send out a survey where there's no reward and half of the participants send a response back, that's pretty impressive. So that was very encouraging to us that our people wanted to help input. They wanted to help recognize and create a safer work environment for us. Now, we outperformed the standards, the metrics, 13 of 14 basically areas of that we measured. That's great. We'll look for continuous improvement in those areas, but also the one where we fell short, we'll look to what the remediation needs to be to go along with it. Again, because of the disparity in our operating environments, those results were customized for each of those business units so that actionable plans that were specific to those business units could be put in place. One of the things that I did when I came to the company is I implemented a safety goal for myself personally and for every one of my business leaders that reports to me. So part of our incentive compensation is based upon the implementation of a safety goal. And a long time ago, worked for a guy named Mo Forsman, and his favorite saying was, people respect what you inspect, okay? And if they know that leadership is holding themselves accountable, personally and financially, for this performance, it tells the organization that this is something that must be pretty important. Regardless of what you say, they always look up and say, are you doing it? How do you feel about it? How do you model that behavior? And I think you need to set that tone at the very top of the organization if you have an expectation that everybody in the organization is going to deliver against it. All business units have to have an annual safety plan. Again, it's customized to their local business. One of the things that we did as a leadership group when we realized that we couldn't have one set of safety goals for all 14 business units, we took a step back and said, okay, what are the guiding principles around safety that we want to guide our company that sets direction to 14 different business units so that they can set the appropriate business or safety goals and plans in place for each of them. And sometimes there were some really difficult conversations that went along with that. A great example of that was cell phone policy for the company. And that is one area across the company. A cell phone's a cell phone, a vehicle's a vehicle, right? Where you can't have a standardized policy. But here's where the real dilemma came for the leadership team. Unequivocally, the absolute safest thing to do is to never use a cell phone in a vehicle, period, hard stop, okay? So the ideal and the perfect policy would be there will be no cell phone usage in your vehicles, period. Okay, that would have been an option. However, we have 5,000 vehicles on the road. We have people driving those vehicles. Many of those individuals are involved in providing agronomic services and consulting to individual producers. Producers call those individuals, and they probably don't want to wait 5 or 6 hours for a return phone call till somebody can pull over and check all of their messages. So the dilemma that we had in the decision we ultimately made is an imperfect policy widely adopted by the organization will create a much safer organization faster than a perfect policy that nobody embraces, okay? Has to be hands-free, and it's for very minimal conversation to acknowledge receipt of the call. I'm on the road. I will get back to you when I'm somewhere where I can talk to you safely. It's not for a 4-hour chat across the country because you're bored and you want to talk to your family and friends. But that was a policy that we thought was the intersection or the median between doing what we needed to do to satisfy the needs of our customers in the safest way possible. And so again, a lot of these things are challenges, and a lot of times there's no perfect solutions to them, but that's an example of one that we had a very long conversation about. We looked at all the data, and that was a conclusion that we came to, and we've implemented that policy within the company. So messages to employees, as I said, safety is my responsibility. The company will help me, the company will enable me, the company will support me. But every day when I get up, I have to make a choice that says, I am going to work safely today. And it is a choice. And it's not just for myself, it's for those that are around me. Because in many of these environments, my decisions don't just impact myself, they impact my associates as well. And again, we'll provide the tools that are necessary in order to do it. And safety starts at the top, but it is everybody's job in the company to ensure that it's implemented. One of the things that we've implemented is an initiative called the Safety Zone. And what we do is we alternate between written materials and small video snippets on a monthly basis to basically, in a very short, crisp way, bring or highlight another topic of safety for all of our employees so they can gain quick access to it. But, we don't treat safety as an event that way. We treat it as something that's continuous and becomes embedded and ingrained in our culture over time. Safety Zone campaign. We open all meetings with a safety message. One of the things that we've just done, and again, this sounds like something that's incredibly simple, but I think it's going to be incredibly powerful. We have 14 different divisions across the company, as I've said. We have 14 different safety plans that are tailored to each of those. Those support a common set of safety policies that were set at the top of the companies. What we needed to create based upon that was a set of common safety metrics across the enterprise so we could actually manage or measure how we were doing regardless of what the operating environment looked like. And we just got that concluded about a couple weeks ago. In fact, I haven't even seen the results yet. But we took basically a representative of every one of those business units, put them together with our central safety lead, and said, go figure it out. And my direction was, I don't care what the metrics are. I really don't, because you guys will figure it out. I just want one set when you guys are done, and I want one set that everybody can agree to so we can monitor that across the entire diverse enterprise. And so now we have that as well. So what I will be able to do with my board of directors when we meet, what I'll be able to do at our employee meetings, I'll be able to show how we're doing on a safety performance standpoint. And again, I think it's very powerful because, it reflects the people respect what you inspect. If they know you're looking at it, if you know you're measuring it, they'll take it to heart and say this is something that's very, very important to us. And I believe we have a video to queue up.
In the CHS safety zone, safe driving is not a game. It's the way we do our jobs, care for our employees, and take care of those around us every day.
Yeah. You want me to check on that? All right, just a sec. Yeah, I'm on my way. I'll be there in a few.
Time out! Time. We are way outside the safety zone here. Let's find out why.
Oh, wow. That was close.
Safety is more than just following the rules. At CHS, it's about doing things the right way. We don't want you or anybody else to get hurt.
Yeah. Well, he needs that info now. All right, I'm on my way.
He's been studying the playbook. Stay focused. Use hands-free technology and wear your seatbelt. And do the same in your off hours. That goes for your family, too. Let's all play in the safety zone 24/7.
So it's right at...
Did you know that at some CHS facilities, as much as 75% of lost time is due to slips, trips, and falls? Those are the kind of penalty minutes that are easy to avoid. Let's take a look. Come on, team. We can do better than that. If you spill something, doesn't matter if it's water or product, clean it up and follow the right procedures. You got to play defense for your coworkers and others on the field. If you see a spill, clean it up or get it cleaned up. At CHS, personal responsibility and doing things right is always our game plan, at work and at home. Thanks, Mary. So let's stay alert, stay proactive, and stay in the safety zone.
Very good. So those were both right at about 1.5 minutes apiece, and that's what we alternate on a bi-monthly basis, and we'll supplement that in between, with just a little, postcard note with, kind of a safety hint or tip, basically for that month. The other thing we've done is we've tried to put it front and center with our owners. In fact, I saw basically at every desk a copy of our C magazine that featured safety on the cover. We sent that out to our owners. This is a publication that goes out 6 times a year. We have circulation of about 250,000. So there was a lot of farmers that basically, saw our view of safety, and hopefully, we can get it to transcend just our own employee base, but basically in our owners' base as well, so that they can generate a safety culture on their farm as well. So since 2008, we've been a strong supporter of ag safety efforts. We've made nearly $900,000